Okay, so this is the Daf for May 5th, 2025. This is Daf 4 of Shevuot. Shevuot means oaths in this context. Very closely pronunciation, very close pronunciation is Shevuot, which is the holiday which is coming up. I was watching a lecture earlier today by Rabbi Duvi, and he was talking about how, to make Torah a part of your life, you actually have to fight for it. You have to fight to make time. You have to fight for, sometimes an idea that you're looking for. You have to fight for, through, a topic that's debated. You have to fight through thoughts. Sometimes you have to try to find an answer for something, and you don't even know where to look. You don't even know what to, you have to ask people. You have to go through all kinds of things. The Torah study is a fight. It's something you have to fight to maintain in your life. And I'm feeling it right now because I'm extremely tired. But this is coming out late, but late's better than never. So rather, Rabbi Yochanan found this unattributed Mishnah, which teaches 27b, if one states, on my oath, I will not eat this loaf, and immediately states, on my oath, I will not eat it, and then he ate it, he's liable for only one violation. Since the second oath did not prohibit any act in addition to the first oath, he is not liable for violating it. The Mishnah concludes, this is an oath on an utterance for which one is liable to receive lashes for its intentional violation, and to bring a sliding scale offering for its unwitting violation. The Gemara infers from the formulation of the Mishnah, it is specifically this case of an oath on an utterance for which one is liable to receive lashes for its unintentional violation. But if a person stated, on my oath I will eat, and then he did not eat, he is not flogged. Presumably, this is because the violation does not involve any action. This Mishnah then can provide a basis for Rabbi Yochanan's ruling. I wonder why they used the idea of a loaf. And I've thought about this too. So a loaf is something that can go bad. It's not going to last forever. So as opposed to a scenario where you take an oath and you have an infinite amount of time to fulfill that oath, this you do not have an infinite amount of time. So the Gemara asks, now this Mishnah, 27b, is unattributed, and this Mishnah is 2a is unattributed. What did Rabbi Yochanan see that he practiced in accordance with this unattributed Mishnah? Let him instead practice in accordance with that unattributed Mishnah. So there's two unattributed Mishnah, which are the unattributed Mishnayot are supposed to go back to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and the idea is that if there's two statements, the statement in the same Masechet, if they're contradictory, right, in the same Masechet, the one that comes afterwards is the one that you follow. So that's the principle. The Gemara asks, now this Mishnah is unattributed, and the other Mishnah is unattributed. What did Rabbi Yochanan see that he practiced in accordance with this unattributed Mishnah? Let him instead practice in accordance with that unattributed Mishnah. The Gemara adds another question. And according to your reasoning that both Mishnayot carry equal weight, then with regard to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi himself, when he redacted the Mishnah, how could he teach us in unattributed Mishnah, both this opinion in the Mishnah here and that opinion in the Mishnah there? This would result in a contradiction. Okay. Rather, it is apparent that initially Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi held that for a violation of a prohibition that does not involve an action, one is flogged. And so he taught it as an unattributed Mishnah, and later he retracted his opinion and held that one is not flogged for a violation of such a prohibition. So he taught that opinion as an unattributed Mishnah. And he left the first Mishnah, 2a, as it was, because a Mishnah does not move from its place. So since the students had already learned that Mishnah, it deemed inappropriate to remove it. Based on this logic, Rabbi Yochanan ruled in accordance with the latter Mishnah. The Gemara clarifies, in accordance with which opinion did you interpret the Mishnah? In accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, and it is referring to liability to receive lashes. The Gemara questions this, but in the parallel case of shades of leprous marks, what punishment of of lashes is there? The Gemara answers, there is a punishment of lashes in a case where one cuts off his snow-white leprous mark, or baheret, in accordance with the principle that Rabbi Avin says, that Rabbi Eliel says, as Rabbi Avin says, that Rabbi Eliel says, whatever it is stated, so wherever it is stated, observe or lest, or do not, it is nothing other than a prohibition. So too with regard to leprosy, the verse states, observe the leprous mark, Deuteronomy 24, verse 8, which according to Rabbi Eliel's principle teaches a prohibition, namely that it is prohibited to remove the mark. Accordingly, one who violates this prohibition is liable to receive lashes. The Gemara asks further, but in the parallel clause of acts of carrying out that are prohibited on Shabbat, what punishment of lashes is there? The prohibition against doing so is a prohibition in the Torah that potentially serves as a mandate for court-imposed capital punishment. And generally accepted principle is that with regard to a violation of any prohibition in the Torah that potentially serves as a mandate for court-imposed capital punishment, one is not flogged for its violation, even if no death penalty is imposed, as that prohibition is punishable only by death. The Gemara answers, it is due to the reason that we interpreted the Mishnah to be in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, as he says that with regard to a prohibition in the Torah that potentially serves as a mandate for court-imposed capital punishment, one is flogged for its violation in a case where there is no actual death penalty. The Gemara asks, is that to say that were it not for this reason, the Mishnah could be interpreted in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, who holds that one is flogged for violating such prohibitions? But then the question raised above with regard to the Mishnah's dealing with the cases of one's awareness of the defiling defiling of the temple or its sacrificial foods poses a difficulty, as Rabbi Akiva holds that one is not liable if he entered the temple during a lapse of awareness of the fact that the place he entered was exactly the temple, whereas the Mishnah indicates one is liable in such a case. The Gemara answers, did you say above that it is possible to conclude that the Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, and the liability referred to in the Mishnah is for liability to receive lashes? Similarly, it is also possible to say that the Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, and the liability referred to in the Mishnah is for liability to receive lashes. The Gemara asks, if so, why did the Tana use the term cases of awareness, which is generally used for cases in which the transgression was performed during a lack of awareness, and then subsequent awareness is necessary in order for the person to be liable to bring an offering? The Tana should have instead said forewarnings, as the forewarning is a necessary condition to be able to give lashes for an intentional transgression. The Gemara answers, this is not difficult. Amend and teach the Mishnah as saying cases of awareness of forewarning. The Gemara rejects the suggestion that the Mishnah is referring to liability to receive lashes. If so, the Mishnah is referring to liability to receive lashes. Why does it state there are two types that are for? There are only two types. Since the person was forewarned, he is certainly fully aware of all aspects of his transgression. Accordingly, there are only two cases of liability: for a ritually impure person who enters the temple, and for a ritually impure person who partakes of sacrificial foods. And furthermore, the continuation of the Mishnah states a case in which one had awareness at the beginning and awareness at the end, but had a lapse of awareness in between when he actually transgressed. The Gemara asks, what is the relevance of lapses of awareness to one's liability to receive lashes? And furthermore, that clause explicitly concludes that this person is liable to bring a sliding scale offering. Clearly, then, the Mishnah is not referring to liability to receive lashes. Having rejected the suggestion that the Mishnah is referring to liability to be punished with lashes, it addresses the difficulty raised above, that the Mishnah's ruling with regard to oaths does not accord with Rabbi Akiva's opinion, and it rules with regard to cases of one's awareness of the defilement of the temple or its sacrificial foods does not accord with Rabbi Akiva's opinion. If so, whose opinion is expressed in the Mishnah? Rather, Rav Yosef said, The Mishnah is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and he formulates the Mishnah according to different Tanaim. So those are sages from the Mishnah, as follows. With regards to cases of one's awareness of the defiling of the temple or sacrificial foods, he formulates in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael, and with regard to oaths, he formulates it in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Okay, Rav Ashi said, I said this statement of Rav Yosef before Rav Kahana, and he said to me, do not say that Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi formulates the Mishnah according to different Tanaim, but he does not hold accordingly. Rav Kahana continued, rather, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi is explicating his own reasoning as it is taught in a Braita. From where is it derived that one is liable to bring a sliding scale offering only for cases in which he had awareness at the beginning and awareness at the end, and had a lapse of awareness only in between when he actually transgressed? The verse states, with regard to a person's awareness of the fact that he was impure, and it was concealed, and it was concealed. Leviticus 5:2-3. Mentioning concealment twice. The first mention is necessary to teach that one is liable to bring an offering only where he was unaware of his status at the time of the transgression. The second mention is superfluous and serves to teach an additional condition for liability, that one must have had awareness of his students before the transgression. This is the statement of Rabbi Akiva. The Brightot continues, and just a side note here, the Brightot that are typically mentioned in the Gemara, you're going to find that in Tosefta, and I have a separate playlist for Tosefta, the chapters of Tosefta to parallel the Daf Yomi that we're studying. So there's specifically, I think the playlist will be like, I think it'll say Tosefta, and then it'll say maybe like the current one. But basically, if you want to check that out, I don't have any videos up for this tractate, this Masechet, but it will be coming. So anyway, the Baraita continues. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says, this proof is not necessary as it says in the verse, quote, and it was concealed, which indicates by inference that initially he had been aware, and nevertheless the verse continues to state, quote, he was aware. Leviticus 5:3. It emerges that the verse refers here to two different periods of awareness, one before the transgression, one after. But if so, why must the verses state, and it was concealed, and it was concealed, mentioning it twice? It is in order to render one liable both for a violation due to a lapse of awareness of the fact that he was ritually impure, and for a violation due to a lapse of awareness of the fact that the place he entered was actually the temple. From this Baraita, it is apparent that Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi agrees with Rabbi Yochanan's opinion concerning which types of lapses of awareness render one liable to bringing a sliding scale offering. So the Gemara asks, we have found with regard to the case of one's awareness of the defiling of the temple or sacrificial foods that Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi has explained his own reasoning in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael. With regard to oaths, where he has not explained his own reasoning, from where do we derive that he holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva? The Gemara answers, it is based on logical reasoning. The Gemara presents another formulation of the preceding the preceding comment. The Gemara asks, we have found an explicit statement of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi with regard to cases of one's awareness of the defiling of the temple or its sacrificial foods, indicating that he holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. With regard to oaths, from where do we derive that he holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva? The Gemara answers that it is based on logical reasoning. So the Gemara explains the logical reasoning. What is the reason that Rabbi Akiva deems one liable for oaths pertaining to the past? The reason is that he expounds verses using the method of amplifications and restrictions. See 26a. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi also expounds verses using the method of amplifications and restrictions, and consequently he arrives at the same opinion as Rabbi Akiva. The Gemara demonstrates the point. As it is taught in the Braita, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says that one can redeem a woman's firstborn son with any item worth 5 shekels except for a promissory notes. And the rabbis say that one can redeem a wife's firstborn son with any item worth 5 shekels, except for Canaanite slaves, promissory notes, and land. The Gemara explains, what is the reason of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi? He expounds verses using the method of amplifications and restrictions. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm going to go back. I was looking for something, but I didn't see it. The Gemara explains, what is the reason of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi? He expounds verses using the method of amplifications and restrictions. Accordingly, he expounds the verse in its redemption from 1 month shall you redeem, according to the valuation of 5 silver shekels by the sacred shekel. Numbers 18-16 as follows. Concerning the phrase in its redemption from 1 month, since it does not specify that only certain items can be used for redemption, the verse amplified the category of items that can be used to redeem the firstborn, intimating that many different items can be used. Then, with the phrase according to the valuation of 5 silver shekels, the verse restricted the category of items that are similar to silver shekels. Then the term shall you redeem, the verse again amplified the category. And then it says, according to the hermeneutic principle, that when a verse amplified and then restricted and then amplified, it amplified the relevant category to include everything except for the specific matter excluded in the restriction. The Gemara elaborates, what is included by the fact it amplified? Almost everything. And what is excluded by the fact that it restricted? It restricted only promissory notes, which are the most fundamentally dissimilar to silver shekels. Okay, the Gemara explains the reasoning of the rabbis, or the majority. And the rabbis expound verses through the method of generalizations in details. Accordingly, they expound the verse as follows. The phrase, and its redemption from 1 month is a generalization that suggests that many different items can be used to redeem the firstborn. Then the phrase, according to the valuation of 5 silver shekels, it has detail, which suggests that only items that are similar to silver shekels can be used. Then the term, shall you redeem, the verse again makes a generalization. So based on this exegetical method, whenever a verse has a generalization and then a detail and then a generalization, the principle is that you deduce that the verse is referring only to items similar to the detail. In this case, just as the detail, silver shekels, is explicitly mentioned that is movable and has intrinsic monetary value, so too anything that is movable and has intrinsic monetary value can be used. This excludes land, which is not movable property. It excluded Canaanite promissory notes because even though they are movable property, they do not have intrinsic memory value. So Ravina said to Ameimar, does Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi really expound verses through the method of amplifications and restrictions? But doesn't Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi expound verses through the method of generalizations and details? Ufrat Daresh. So, and it is taught in a Braita. The Torah provides the process by which a Hebrew slave who has already completed his 6 years of servitude may continue on as a slave of his master. And you shall take the awl and put it through in his ear, in the door, Deuteronomy 15:17. From this verse I have derived only that an awl can be used. From where do I know to include the thorn of a palm, a thorn, a needle, and a gimlet, in a stylus for writing on wax as valid tools for piercing his ear. The verse states, "And you shall take," which indicates that anything that can be taken by hand is a valid tool. This is the requirement of Rabbi Yoshi, son of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says, not all these items can be used. Rather, some of the verses it specifies in all, only items similar to in all can be used. Just as in all is distinct in that fashion, just as in all is distinct in that it is fashioned of metal, so too anything fashioned of metal can be used. And we say with regard to this dispute, in what do they disagree? Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi expounds verses using the method of generalizations and details, and Rabbi Yoshi, son of Rabbi Yehuda, expounds verses. And that is the end of Daf 4. Thanks for watching.